They're fast, they're furious, and some of them probably should have come with a health warning. Whether it's raw speed, unruly handling, or power that defies logic, these motorcycles weren't built for the faint of heart. From explosive two-strokes to supercharged rockets on two wheels. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on the 11 most dangerous motorcycles built of all time. So grab a coffee, sit back, and let's get to it. Number 11. Brough Superior S100. The Brough Superior S100 wasn't just the pinnacle of pre-Suzuki motorcycle engineering. It was also one of the most dangerous machines you could buy in the 1920s and 30s. Known as the Rolls-Royce of motorcycles, this British masterpiece was hand-built and certified to exceed 100 miles per hour, an astonishing feat at a time when most vehicles could barely touch 60. It featured a 998 cubic centimeter V-twin engine and advanced for its time design, with a level of customization that allowed wealthy buyers to spec their ideal machine. But beneath the craftsmanship and polish lurked a bike that required immense skill to tame. With primitive drum brakes, narrow tires, and zero electronic assistance, the SS100 demanded full-body commitment at speed. Even more dangerously, British roads of the era were largely gravel or cobblestone, making high-speed riding extremely unpredictable. Its power-to-weight ratio was unlike anything else on the market, and many riders, inspired by its racing success and mystique, overestimated their abilities. Most tragically, this is the very motorcycle that T.E. Lawrence of Arabia, was riding when he lost control and died in 1935. His death prompted widespread concern about motorcycle safety, even influencing the development of the modern crash helmet. Revered as a symbol of freedom and status, the SS100 also became synonymous with lethal risk. It remains one of the most elegant yet fearsome machines ever produced, a high-speed relic from a time when danger was part of the thrill. Number 10. 1972. Kawasaki H2 Mach IV. The Kawasaki H2 Mach IV was a machine that rewrote the rules of motorcycle performance and safety. Introduced in 1972, this 748 cubic centimeter two-stroke triple was Kawasaki's answer to the horsepower wars of the early 70s. With 74 horsepower and a curb weight of just 205 kilograms, it offered one of the most aggressive power-to-weight ratios ever seen on a street-legal bike at the time. The H2 could rocket from 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, comparable to supercars of the era, but without the handling, brakes, or traction control to match. Nicknamed the Widowmaker, the H2 was infamous for its violent power band. Below 5,000 RPM, the engine was docile, but once the revs climbed, it unleashed a brutal wall of power that often caught riders off guard. Wheelies were frequent, often unintentional, and the bike tended to fishtail under heavy acceleration. The brakes were underpowered drum units, and the chassis flexed unsettlingly during cornering. It didn't help that Kawasaki marketed the H2 as the fastest bike in the world, attracting thrill-seekers who were often unprepared for its unpredictable handling. Many young riders met with disaster, prompting widespread concern and multiple revisions in later years. Despite its reputation, the H2 Mach IV remains a cult icon, admired for its raw character, unmatched acceleration, and brutal honesty. But make no mistake, this wasn't a bike for the faint-hearted. Inexperienced hands could quickly find themselves airborne or worse. Number 9. 1971. Suzuki TM400 Cyclone. In 1971, Suzuki released what would go down in history as one of the most unforgiving motocross bikes ever built, the TM400 Cyclone. On paper, it sounded like a winner, a 396 cubic centimeter single-cylinder, two-stroke engine producing around 40 horsepower in a lightweight frame. For seasoned racers, it offered raw performance. For everyone else, it was a bucking bronco with handlebars. The main problem was its unpredictable power band. Below 5,000 RPM, it was almost sluggish. But once the revs crested that threshold, the bike erupted with torque so suddenly and violently that it often snapped riders off the back seat or sent the front wheel skyward. The throttle response was crude, the clutch grabby, and the narrow power band made it difficult to control through corners or jumps. Its suspension setup didn't help either. Early models featured a soft front fork and harsh rear shocks, creating instability on rough tracks. Combined with the aggressive engine, this made the TM400 incredibly hard to manage in races where finesse mattered. Worse yet, the TM400 was marketed to amateur riders just getting into motocross. They expected a manageable race bike. What they got was a death trap. Crashes were frequent, injuries common, and the bike earned the ominous nickname, the Time Bomb. While Suzuki would go on to dominate motocross later in the decade, the TM400 Cyclone serves as a cautionary tale. Proof that too much power, poorly delivered, can turn a dirt bike into one of the most dangerous motorcycles ever built. Number 8. 1969 Kawasaki H2 Mach IV. Before the H2, there was the H1 Mach III, a 500cc two-stroke triple that set new standards for performance and earned a notorious reputation along the way. Released in 1969, the H1 made 60 horsepower and weighed just over 180 kilograms, allowing it to hit 0 to 60 in about 4.5 seconds. That was faster than most muscle cars of its day, and miles ahead of its motorcycle competitors. But that speed came at a price. Like its successor, the H1 had a savage power band. The engine surged violently once it hit its stride, making precise throttle control essential. It also lacked any meaningful chassis sophistication. With a flex-prone steel frame, under-damped suspension, and wooden drum brakes, it felt like the engine had been strapped to a bicycle frame. Cornering at speed was terrifying. The front end would dive unpredictably under braking, and the rear would often step out under acceleration. Riders were warned not to shut the throttle too quickly mid-turn for fear of unsettling the entire chassis. And yet, many bought it for its raw, explosive power, and few walked away without a scare story. The H1 Mach III wasn't just a motorcycle. It was a high-velocity test of survival. Its sheer speed made it irresistible, but its erratic behavior made it deadly. It was the first Japanese superbike in spirit, but it came without a safety net. And for that reason, it earns a secure spot among the most dangerous motorcycles ever produced. Number 7. 1997 Suzuki TL1000S. When Suzuki launched the TL1000S in 1997, it was supposed to be their answer to Ducati's booming V-twins, a 996 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled V-twin sport bike with 125 horsepower, aggressive styling, and razor-sharp handling. Instead, it became infamous for its wild behavior and high-speed instability, earning a place in history for all the wrong reasons. The TL1000S introduced a radical design, a rotary-style rear damper instead of a traditional shock absorber. Theoretically, this was meant to save space and improve weight distribution. In practice, it created erratic damping behavior, particularly during aggressive cornering or hard acceleration. The rear end would wobble or pogo, often inducing terrifying tank slappers that threw riders off balance or off the bike entirely. Within a few months of its release, reports of crashes began pouring in. Some were attributed to high-speed instability, and others to the unpredictable rear suspension. The problem became so widespread that Suzuki issued a recall and added a steering damper to all future models. By then, however, the damage had been done. Despite the danger, the TL1000S still has a loyal fan base. Its engine was torquey, responsive, and thrilling, but the chassis never matched its potential. The bike was fast, beautiful, and tragically flawed. It remains a cautionary tale in motorcycle engineering, where one experimental part can turn a promising superbike into one of the most dangerous machines ever to hit the streets. Number 6. 1955 Vincent Black Shadow. The 1955 Vincent Black Shadow wasn't just fast, it was mythically fast. At a time when most motorcycles struggled to reach 80 miles per hour, the Black Shadow could exceed 100 to 25 miles per hour straight from the factory. Built by Vincent HRD in England, it featured a 998 cubic centimeter V-twin engine, producing 55 horsepower, and a unique construction where the engine doubled as a stressed member of the frame, decades ahead of its time. But the speed was far ahead of the safety tech available in the 1950s. Brakes were primitive drum systems, suspension was rudimentary, and tires were narrow with limited grip. Riders who dared to explore the bike's upper limits were venturing into uncharted territory without the tools to keep them safe. At top speed, the bike was twitchy and brutally unforgiving. One mistake, one pothole, or a sudden swerve could prove fatal. The Black Shadow's minimalist frame meant vibrations were intense, and even the seating position wasn't designed for prolonged high-speed riding. But it wasn't built for comfort, it was built for speed, and it quickly became a cult object for speed demons and cafe racers. The Black Shadow's legacy is double-edged. On one hand, it's hailed as a marvel of British engineering and one of the most beautiful motorcycles ever built. On the other hand, it represents a time when ambition outpaced safety, a time when riders put everything on the line to feel the thrill of a truly fast bike. Today, it's remembered both for what it achieved and for the risks it demanded. Number 5. Harley Davidson Sportster S. Harley Davidson's Sportster S is a modern performance cruiser that defies traditional expectations of what a Harley should be. It's sleek, aggressive, and backed by the new revolution, Max 1250T engine, producing 121 horsepower and 127 newton-meters of torque. That's more than double the power of many earlier Sportsters. It's also relatively light at around 228 kilograms wet, making it far more responsive than its bulky cruiser cousins. But therein lies the issue. It looks like a Harley, but rides like a high-performance naked sport bike. For new riders used to the relaxed, loping torque curve of traditional cruisers, the Sportster S is a dangerous surprise. The throttle is sensitive, the front wheel can lift unexpectedly, and the bike's aggressive geometry makes it twitchy at speed. ABS and traction control are present, but the sheer amount of torque delivered low in the rev range makes it easy to get into trouble. The short wheelbase and fat front tire reduce cornering confidence, and while its ride modes help manage output, the Sportster S punishes any lapse in concentration. The bike doesn't forgive mistakes, it magnifies them. Harley may have reimagined the Sportster for a new generation, but with it came a steep learning curve. The bike is thrilling in experienced hands, but misleading in appearance. It lures in newer riders with its cruiser stance, then delivers superbike-like behavior. And for that reason, the Sportster S earns its place among the most deceptively dangerous motorcycles of the modern era. Number 4. Suzuki GSXR 1100. The GSXR 1100 wasn't just a superbike, it was a street-legal missile that rewrote what riders expected from sport motorcycles. Launched in 1986, this monster packed a 1,052 cubic centimeter air and oil-cooled inline-4 engine producing over 130 horsepower. That was staggering for the time, especially considering the bike's curb weight of just under 500 pounds. It could easily hit 170 miles per hour with enough road. But while its straight-line performance was mind-blowing, the chassis simply couldn't keep up. Suzuki prioritized power over handling, and the aluminum frame, though light, was notorious for flexing under pressure. At high speeds or under aggressive cornering, riders often complained about instability and front-end wobble. The front suspension was harsh, and the rear struggled to maintain grip, especially on uneven surfaces. Cornering on the GSXR 1100 became an exercise in faith. It had the power to fly down the straights, but entering a bend at speed felt like tossing a coin. The bike had a habit of punishing overconfidence, especially for riders who underestimated how much force it could generate. Despite these flaws, the GSXR 1100 became a favorite for drag racers and speed freaks. Its brutal acceleration was unmatched, and in the hands of a seasoned rider, it was a weapon. But for anyone else, it was an unpredictable beast with more horsepower than common sense. To this day, it's remembered with reverence and a bit of fear. It was one of the first true leader-class monsters, and its legacy is one of speed, danger, and raw, unfiltered aggression. Number 3. 1985 Yamaha VMAX. The 1985 Yamaha VMAX detonated the motorcycle world with its 1,197 cubic centimeter V4 engine pumping out 145 horsepower and 122 newton meters of torque. The original VMAX offered acceleration that bordered on violent. It could destroy the quarter mile in under 11 seconds, rivaling high-performance cars and leaving most motorcycles of its era in the dust. But that power came at a price. The VMAX's chassis wasn't designed to handle such ferocity. Yamaha essentially slapped a drag racing engine into a cruiser frame, resulting in poor weight distribution and questionable handling. The front forks were soft, the rear shocks couldn't handle aggressive riding, and the bike would wallow through corners. It was terrifying on twisty roads and unforgiving on poor pavement. The bike's infamous V-boost system, a servo-controlled intake system that opened up above 6,000 RPM, delivered a sudden explosive burst of power. Many riders described it as hitting a turbo button, often when they least expected it. It could easily break traction, lift the front wheel, or throw the rear sideways. Despite all this, the VMAX developed a cult following. It was a straight-line demon, perfect for drag racing or highway pulls. But for everyday riding, especially in the hands of someone unprepared for its quirks, it was dangerously unpredictable. It may not have been the most refined machine, but it was one of the rawest and riskiest bikes you could buy. Number 2. Harley Davidson V-Rod. The Harley Davidson V-Rod was born from a collaboration with Porsche and intended to bring the Milwaukee brand into the 21st century. Introduced in 2001, it came equipped with a 1,131 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled V-twin Revolution engine that redlined at 9,000 RPM, unheard of for a Harley. It produced a robust 115 horsepower and could sprint from 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds, with a top speed of around 140 miles per hour. This performance shocked loyal Harley riders and stunned newbies alike. The V-Rod didn't ride like a Harley. It accelerated like a superbike, but it was wrapped in cruiser geometry. That created a mismatch that made the bike dangerous in untrained hands. Its long wheelbase, low seat, and wide rear tire made cornering awkward. Combine that with twitchy throttle response and questionable weight distribution, and you had a motorcycle that could punish hesitation or overconfidence. Its braking system was also criticized. While it had dual-disc brakes up front, the bike's weight and torque often overwhelmed them under spirited riding. And for riders new to Harley, or seduced by the V-Rod's sleek looks, it was easy to underestimate just how demanding the bike could be at speed. The V-Rod was unconventional and fast, but also unforgiving. It took skill to handle well, and for riders expecting a typical laid-back Harley experience, it was often a brutal awakening. The V-Rod may have looked like the future of cruisers, but it handled like a rogue thoroughbred, and it bucked hard. Number 1. Kawasaki Ninja H2R. The Kawasaki Ninja H2R isn't just the most dangerous motorcycle ever built, it's a supercharged declaration of war against the laws of physics. Unleashed in 2015 as a track-only hyperbike, the H2R comes with a 998 cubic centimeter inline-4 engine boosted by a centrifugal supercharger. The result? A mind-melting 310 horsepower, 326 with ram air. No other production bike in history has ever delivered that kind of power off the factory floor. Capable of hitting over 240 miles per hour, the H2R is the fastest, most extreme production motorcycle ever built. But what makes it truly terrifying is the way it gets there. Acceleration is brutal and relentless. The front wheel constantly fights to lift off the ground, even in higher gears. Aerodynamic carbon fiber wings. Yes, actual wings are required to keep the bike grounded. There's no license plate on the H2R. It's not legal on the road. It's too powerful, too loud, and too wild. Even on a closed track, few riders can exploit its full potential. The brakes are top of the line, but trying to bring the H2R down from 200 miles per hour is like stopping a missile with a parachute. And if you get it wrong, there are no second chances. This isn't a motorcycle for the average adrenaline junkie. It's a marvel of engineering, built for the brave few who dare to tame it. The Ninja H2R is the very definition of danger on two wheels. No question, no rivals, just raw, terrifying speed. What do you think? Have you owned any of these bikes? Did I miss one that deserves to be on this list? If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment with the most dangerous bike you've ever ridden. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.